With 90s nostalgia being all the rage these days, one of those bands that is back and making great music is the Nixons. We'll talk to their main man, Zac Maloy, next on this edition of Chris Akin Presents. It is Chris Akin Presents, and I, of course, am Chris Akin, and joining me today to talk about their new EP, Kaleidoscope, is the singer of the Nixons, who we have not, I guess we have heard from recently, but for a lot of people we haven't heard from in a long time. They're back. They have been back since 2017, and like I said, they have this brand new release, which is excellent, called Kaleidoscope. Everybody should be checking out. So from the Nixons, let's talk to the main guy himself, Mr. Zac Maloy. Zac, how are you?
Good, Chris. Thanks for having me, man. Thank you for that lead up. The new EP, the new song Kaleidoscope. We've been playing it out here on tour with Everclear and Fastball, and it's awesome, man. It's great to have new music in the universe, for sure. Thank you for helping us get the word out.
Sure, man. Well, dude, and that's kind of the thing is, I think a lot of people are still just discovering that the Nixons are back. You know, you guys disbanded, what, almost 20 years ago, and I'm sure you're finding out very quickly that it is not that easy to get the word out that you're back and that you're back creating new music. Talk a little bit about the decision to come back and what struggles, if any, you've had to let people know that you're back out there.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, listen, you know, you're right. It's been a long time, but in some ways it's even better than ever because, you know, we're all a little older, a little wiser.
Sure.
I think we're all better as songwriters and even performers. This Everclear tour that we're on right now, we're about 9 or 10 days into it, and we're all noticing that we're, I don't know, a little tighter, you know, a little, you know, our way around things a little bit more. And this new EP that, as you mentioned, is out in a matter of days, is some of my favorite music we've done. It's really cool. And so yeah, I mean, the original reunion was, as you said, almost 20 years in the making. We all sort of went our different directions, and got together for one show in our hometown, Oklahoma City. I would have never thought it would have turned into this, that we'd be playing, you know, literally a 6-week tour, you know, with Everclear and Fastball. But here we are in the middle of a tour. Philly's right out that back window behind me.
Oh, nice.
Somewhere. So, it's been great. And has really kind of come together pretty nicely. Sure.
Are you surprised that the interest has come back? And what I mean by that is not necessarily the Nixons, but just in general, it seems like we're in this nostalgia period. It seems like we're almost in the second decade of it. It seems like the last 10 years have been very 80s, and everybody wanted to see Night Ranger and Motley Crue and all those bands come back. But it seems like now the 90s are having, you know, there's huge audiences for Limp Bizkit coming back after a zillion years. And, you know, Korn is obviously still super popular, and Candlebox is out there touring. And, you know, just there seems like there is a big audience for the 90s nostalgia now, where the last 10 years had the 80s nostalgia. Are you surprised by that? And, you know, obviously that helps you guys, right?
It does help us. Yeah, I mean, it's why we're on this tour, you know, because people do still care about that music from that decade. And your question is, does it surprise me? And my answer is no, it doesn't surprise me. And I'll tell you exactly why. I actually, sometimes I don't have a good answer for these questions, but I'm watching Fastball and Everclear every night, right?
Right.
And dude, those songs are amazing. I mean, you know, made up our mind and we started packing, we left before the sun. And Everclear has like, wait, that hit.
Right.
So it doesn't surprise me. I mean, and only because it's right in my face. I mean, I'm hearing Santa Monica, Father of Mine, all these just amazing songs. So you are right. The 90s are kind of coming back, but to me, it's just good songs are always going to be, you know, present. So that's been cool to see. Actually, it's been cool. And by the way, we played with Candlebox. You mentioned them. We played with them last week, and last month. Sorry, a festival in Oklahoma City, and
Right.
Sister Hazel was on that bill, and so yeah,
Sure.
all these bands. It's great to see them all out kicking
Sure.
again.
And you know, the one thing that I think attributes to the '90s resurgence that is different than the '80s is that with the '90s bands, you know, and I'm 53 years old, so I lived through both eras. But
Me too. Me too.
Okay.
Same.
Yeah, you just don't have the white beard to prove it.
Somewhere. No, I do. It's just shape.
Nice. But no, I think with the '80s bands, their songs were given a lot more run radio wise, where you guys had the unfortunate thing of here today, gone later today, because they were shuffling so many bands through in that time at rock radio. You know, at rock radio, you could have a hit, but you wouldn't have a Motley Crue Home Sweet Home that was on the charts for 6 months. You know, you guys would get a month and then you'd have to be satisfied.
Well, I'll tell you, actually, for us, we're sort of, I think, maybe singular, unique in this. The two stories. Number one, Sister was our third single from the first record on MCA. I would say bands these days wouldn't get 3 singles. You know, it's the first one. The first one doesn't work, you're out. You know, so I think we got lucky that way. That you know, our label stuck with us. And the other thing that I'll say about our second album, we had a song called Baton Rouge that was number 2 on one of the rock charts, and you know, behind Creed's first single, My Own Prison. We never hit number 1 because of Creed. So when I wrote with Scott Stapp recently, I told him that a lot of people don't like Creed, but I've got a good damn reason not to like Creed. You kept us out of the number 1 slot. No, but my point is that we actually kind of got lucky. We had a lot of love at radio back in the '90s. You know, a lot of people stuck with us, I guess is the way to put it. So so yeah, we were kind of fortunate in that way. And in some ways, it's kind of it's a new era now with all the playlisting and Spotify and all that. But we're getting added to some cool playlists, and it's a funny thing with a band like us who are a '90s band but are back right now and active with new music, because I'll see the playlist that we get added to, and it's like '90s, but then it's also, you know, indie music today, you know, so it's actually kind of funny. We're on some playlist with like Cage the Elephant and Arctic Monkeys. I'm like, what the hell's happening, man? So, but it's really cool. It's cool. That's one of the cool things about the playlisting. You can get added to a playlist that might seem a little random, but it's just good music, you know? Right on.
Definitely. Now, Zach, I got to tell you, and I'll tell you this as honestly as I can, without being rude, I guess. I always thought that, well, you can tell me I'm dead wrong, but I always thought the biggest thing that went wrong for the Nixons, went wrong is probably not the right wording, but I always thought the biggest obstacle you guys had were great songs, wrong tours. And I mean, I saw you once with Kiss, and that doesn't make sense to me. I saw you once with Sevendust, and that didn't make sense to me. It just seemed like there were so many bands that would have made sense. And you might have toured with these bands, but I didn't see them. You know, I always thought like 7 Mary 3 would have been good. Pearl Jam would have been good. Candlebox would have been good. You know, I always thought that those would have been the good tours. Kiss was like Kiss and the Nixons. That just didn't jive in my head, and I think in a lot of people's heads, to where people develop that love for your band. Did you think that you guys got kind of the shaft on the touring, or was it just, how do you turn down touring with Kiss?
I think it's that, man. I think it's you don't turn down touring with Kiss. I think that you just answered the question. By the way, my drummer's not in the room right now, but if he was, he would jump in and start screaming at you, because he's the biggest Kiss fan on the planet. So no, it was to me, the Kiss thing was kind of an interesting thing, because they did what I think is a savvy thing on their part, and they invited a bunch of young bands. So literally, Alice in Chains, Everclear, the Nixons, bands like
D-Generation,
D-Generation, that's right. We were all the opening bands, and I actually thought it was kind of cool. And then on the flip side for us, dude, we got to play Madison Square Garden. You know, so if it wasn't the perfect tour, maybe you're right, but also fuck it, man, we're gonna go play with Kiss. Sorry, you said I could cuss, so this
Yeah,
is
it's
when
all
I'll use
good.
that opportunity. And on the flip side, I will tell you that maybe you just missed a few tours. You mentioned Sevendust didn't feel right either, but we sort of handpicked them ourselves because we just fell in
Okay.
love with them, and I'm still friends with them. I wrote with
Oh
Lejean
yeah.
last week. For Lejean's got a solo project, so
Solo thing, yeah.
we're still tight with them. But some of the tours you missed were, we did play with Candlebox, and we did play with
Okay.
Bush, and we did play with we did a great tour. My favorite tour we ever did was Soul Asylum, Radiohead, and
Okay.
the Nixons, so yeah. So you're probably right. Maybe some of the tour things weren't 100% spot on, but at the same time, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Right on, man. Well, dude, obviously these days you are back full time with the Nixons. This is, if I'm not mistaken, this is your third EP since you put the band back together. Do you feel like you've found your way back to it fully, or did you feel that way at the first EP, or where do you feel the Nixons are at this point?
I think, man, I think yes, we've sort of have found a little bit of our stride. We released one song called Song of the Year that was cool, but then we're able to, on the first EP, Sonic Boom, we were able to kind of dig a little bit more into trying some things musically we maybe hadn't done, or we were doing differently. And then, like I told you, I think for Kaleidoscope, I think we're all just better songwriters and better performers than we were when we were in our 20s. I mean, God, I hope so. But no, I think, yeah, you nailed it. We have kind of found a bit of a stride.
Sure. Now, for you personally, I know you've had a good amount of success outside of the Nixons, with songwriting. You've had some obvious love from bands and stuff that have taken your music. And like you said, you're still writing for people now. How did you find your way into that aspect of the business? And do you enjoy that, or do you kind of secretly hate that it's somebody else doing your songs instead of you doing your songs?
Oh, no, hell no. No, I love it. I feel lucky that, basically, that music is all I've ever done, and
Right.
For myself and for other people. And I just mentioned, I worked with, Stapp, and worked with Lejean last week from a hotel lobby on a Zoom songwriting session. So no, it's absolutely fulfilling to be able to write. The thing I'll say about the Nixons that you were sort of alluding to is that it's different, right? When I'm writing for Carrie Underwood, there's certain things that are sort of in the quote rule book,
Right.
that you try to break it, but sometimes you just can't. There's certain boxes you have to check when you're writing for, like I said, a country artist like that.
Right.
But with the Nixons, it's a bit more freeing, to be able to write. That you mentioned the first single is called Kaleidoscope. I don't know how that song works for Keith Urban or Carrie Underwood or whatever,
Right.
at all, and some of the other things we did. There's a song on this album called Dead Electric. That's kind of, I think, one of the band's favorites. And I mean, Dead Electric, I don't even know what it means, but I don't care. It's just cool, you know. So
Right.
that's been kind of part of the freedom to have, you know, that and I think we all did that. I think we all kind of just went for it, you know, just had some fun.
Sure. Is there a thing that you hear when you're writing a song that tells you this is for my stuff versus this is something I'd like to give to somebody else, or do you just kind of keep a list and, you know, offer it up as it comes, or what?
Yeah, that's a good question. No, I don't think so. I think it's just the way this EP started was Jesse sent me a couple music beds. We all live in different cities, so
Okay.
for better or worse, we're not like we were in the old days in a jam room. You know what I mean? Banging out.
Mhm.
Hey, what do you think of this riff? What do you think of this? We send each other ideas, and that's sort of how this EP was born. Jesse sent me a couple music ideas. I plug them into my studio, hit record on the mic, and in Kaleidoscope, I was telling the story recently that one came in about a half an hour. I mean, weirdly, you know, just kind of sang it almost in one setting. So no, I don't think of it that way. I don't think the rest of the band does either. I think it's just, well, this feels right today. And
Right.
and you know, then luckily for me, I sent it, you know, probably sent the rough to the other guys. John goes into a studio and bangs out drums in Edmond, Oklahoma City area. We send that up to the middle of nowhere in Utah, and Ricky plays bass, and then they send it back to me, and I cut vocals. Jesse cuts guitars, and yeah, it's you know, it's not. Some people have said, "Oh, that doesn't seem ideal," but it is what it is. It's the way we work,
Sure.
and we've made it work, and it's been cool.
Sure. Are there any songs that are now Nixon songs that were proposed to other people? You don't have to say what songs or whatever, but are there any that were proposed to other people that didn't come back and you were like, "Nah, I can't let this one just go away"?
The rest of the band's in the room, so I really can't say. No, I'm just kidding. No. It's not like that. It really is like, you know, if I have a lyric idea, I'm like, okay, this feels like this feels Nixons, you know, this feels
Okay.
you know, and with Kaleidoscope and another song on the EP called Atmosphere. No, it's never really like that. It's never like, oh, compartmentalized, you know what I mean? It just felt like you know, there's one song on the EP called Invisible that I've had that lyric in my head for a long time, and was never able to marry it to anything. But it kind of worked for this, and it's a little bit. I'll say this, and this will be the kind of the bow I'll put on the answer to your question.
Okay.
This was sort of about. I saw some documentary about the invisible children in Africa. And that's kind of a weird topic to use as a songwriting sort of nudge.
Sure.
But that's where Invisible came from. And in some ways, the Nixons can get away, I think, lyrically, of being a little bit weird, for lack of a better word. You know, we have a song on one of our albums called Gabriel, which is about a guy who kidnaps the angel Gabriel, which, again, that's not going to work for Carrie Underwood. You know, so she's not going to be singing something that's almost drug infused. But But no, so that's the way I would say that works, you know.
Right on, man. Well, dude, obviously you've mentioned the single a couple of times, Kaleidoscope. There's also a video out there for that. So talk a little bit about the video and how it came out and why that song was chosen as not only the first single, but the namesake of the new EP.
Yeah, I think it's just a cool, you know, cool word. I'm you know, oh, yeah, he's showing the video. I love it.
Yeah,
that's cool, man. You've got some modern technology kicking. That's actually produced by a company in Oklahoma City called Prairie Surf. They're a massive production company, and they happen to be Nixons fans. And so we lucked out that they were available and into doing a video for us. But as you can see there, just the word kaleidoscope, it kind of, you know, it's easy. Dude just did some kaleidoscope shit, and then there you go. And that's some live footage from a live stream we did over the pandemic. So yeah, it worked out great, and I think that they did a great job producing it. I'm glad we were able to use a production company that's based in Oklahoma, which is our home state.
Certainly. Was it, I'm just curious on the pandemic live streams. I've had mixed reviews of them from the bands themselves. Like Morgan Rose told me he hated doing it. He told me flat out hated playing it. It just didn't feel right. It felt like he was playing in his closet. And then I've had other people are like, yeah, it was weird going in, but then once they got going, it felt fine. How did you feel doing the live stream show?
I actually enjoyed it and had a lot of fun. I think the rest of the band would agree. Yes, it's weird. You know, we finished a song and there's no response. It's
right.
Just quiet. It's just silence. So I do hear what Morgan's saying and this sort of the sterile vibe that could come about that. But for us, we did one on Veeps, you know, that the platform, and it was, you know, we called it live as it happened, and I thought it was cool. And again, it was a pandemic, right? So what are you going to do? You know, that's the only choice we had. You know, we had tour plans in the works that fell through. So we all met up in Oklahoma City and had a great production company put together that live stream too. So I do hear that it's not like performing live. You know, nothing is. But you know, we sort of all did what we had to do.
Right. Well, and that's the weird thing with the pandemic is I don't think anybody had the answer. You know, that's the weirdest thing is I think all bands knew was that they had to do something to stay in touch, or
that's right,
or you get forgotten. But finding it, and I mean, you saw the same things I did. People that were doing the mix and match, you know, videos where they're all playing and then having some studio guy put it together into a video, or live streams, or you know, the acoustic night, acoustic Fridays, or Metallica Mondays. I mean, everybody found their own little niche for it. I'm going to take a guess, and I'm pretty sure it's accurate. I'm probably thinking you guys are thrilled that at least the horror of it seems to be behind us. No,
it's absolutely. We did some of those too. We did the things where we each, you know, like my wife was filming me singing, you know, a song, and then we would send it to someone to pull together, you know, John playing in his house and Jesse and Ricky. So yeah, we did those things too. Cause again, we were all just, you know, grasping for, you know, let's do something. But to answer your question, yeah, being out here, dude, playing live shows. We played Virginia Beach last night. Ocean off to the left, or you know, the crowd in front of you. You know, playing your music. There's nothing like it, and so it is absolutely amazing to be back out here.
Certainly, and obviously, you know, you mentioned it before this tour with Fastball and Everclear. This is unlike the Kiss tour in my eyes, this is the perfect tour for the Nixons.
Okay.
You know?
This one works for you, Chris. I appreciate that. Good. Chris approved.
Yeah, it's Chris approved. I'm sure that means a ton.
No, it's great, man. I hear you, man. It is a great tour for us, and really getting to know the guys, and it's been fun. That's the other part that you forget about, that you get to sort of create some friendships out here when you're on a long road trip.
Sure. Now, we did mention that you've released 3 EPs since reforming. Is that just kind of because of the way the industry is now, that you're not just collecting them all up and putting out an album? Or is it just the way that it's worked out, that that's where you were at creatively, was 4 songs? So instead of trying to force something. Yeah,
I think that's what it is. You know, we had kind of put together these, in the case of Kaleidoscope, it's six songs. And I don't know that we ever had a conversation of like, should this be a full-length album? But we just knew that we love these 6. So let's slap some artwork on top of it, and let's get this thing out to the people. And it coincided also with this Everclear tour, right? So we literally, the EP comes out tomorrow. We're 2 weeks into this Everclear tour. The single came out right before we started the tour. So kind of perfect timing. I mean, we, I don't know that we all sat down in a meeting room and planned it that way, but it definitely worked out perfectly for us.
Sure. With the industry being so different today, do you see a time when you'll put together 12, 14, 15 songs for an album, or is that era kind of over?
I don't know. It's a good question. And, you know, I have to say, I don't have any sort of like, I don't think we have any, you know, longing for that. Like, I don't necessarily miss it. You know, it's just like, let's get music out when we can get it out, I think is more the mentality right now. And it's in large part because we all have, other parts of our lives that take up a little bit of bandwidth. And,
Right.
and then it also is just because this is what sort of came together when it came together. I suppose if we had 10 songs that came together at some point down the road, maybe that could happen. But yeah, what you just said, which is this is just how it kind of happened.
Okay, very good, man. Well, I'm certainly glad that it's happened. The Nixons are back. New EP is out there now, or by the time this actually airs, it'll be now, called Kaleidoscope. And Zac, where should we tell people to go to keep up with you guys and tour dates and all that good stuff?
Yeah, it's thenixonsofficial.com, and it's Instagram, Facebook. Just type in the Nixons band. If you just type in the Nixons, you might see pictures of a former president and first lady. But if you type in the Nixons band, you're going to find us. And yeah, go find it. There's the album cover. I love it, man. Chris, you're doing a great job here. Very impressive.
I'm engineering. I'm interviewing. I'm doing it all.
Your badass backdrop. I've got just a hotel room curtain behind me. Sorry.
Yeah, but you're having more fun than I am. You're having a lot more fun than I am. So
we are having a good time.
Awesome. Well, one more time, the album is called, or the EP is called Kaleidoscope. It is the Nixons. And Zac, thanks so much for joining me here on CHRIS Akin Presents.
Chris, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Mirrors used for all the right reasons make you believe you've got diamonds in your eyes. You are your beautiful and broken pieces held together by everyone who ever helped you along the way. All the years you fought, love you lost, faith you gained, light reflects in all your hope. My kaleidoscope.
Chris Akin here, just letting you know of a special that I've got going on right now. I found a few copies of some of my books that I thought had already sold, but were apparently in a box in a closet. And I've got them available for sale. They are autographed, including this one, Cause and Effect, Motley Crue. That's right, Motley Crue. This is about the 1994 self-titled album with John Corabi. It's a great book. It's a lot of fun to read, a lot of stories, a lot of fun nonsense from what I was doing in 94, as well as about Motley Crue at that time in their career. So get it today. There's only a few copies of it that are autographed, so if you want one autographed, order it today over at chrisakinbooks.com. Again, Cause and Effect, Motley Crue, available now.